Why BMW FRM3 modules fails. This is a training guide course about BMW FRM3 software, structure, why it fails and how it is repaired. As you already know, when it fails, your window stops rolling down, your blinkers stop working, and you lose Ovidiu communication with this module. And people call it a bricked module. As you know, the problem, it is software, not hardware. But did you know that the firmware inside is completely fine? How? Today we are going to look inside of the microprocessor chip of an FRM to see the physical design flaw that causes thousands of these modules to self-destruct. To understand why the BMW FRM3 fails and how it's repaired, you have to look at how the brain, the Freescale MC9S12X microcontroller chip allocates its internal memory, because there is something different in this one. But before we go inside this FRM, the first thing that we need to understand is how the module works at software level. Because if we have an idea how the software is working, then everything else will make sense, will be way easier to be understand. So the first thing that we have on the software part is the main operating software, that it's called P-Flash. This is the main part. This is like the Windows on your desktop computer. This is written once in the module, the first time when this module is programmed in factory or after every single software update that you will do on this module. In rest, this piece of information is not changed during normal operation. And most important, please do not confuse programming with coding. Programming, it's a different process. Coding, it's a total different step. Then we will need D-Flash. That is, in our case, storing the EEE. In a couple of moments, you will find out what that EEE stands for. So, this is the part where the software has its information about the car. VIN, mileage, equipment, error counters, window limits, and so on. Without this, the P-Flash cannot work. The EEE has the instructions like wake up, go to the bathroom, wash your face, open the doors, close the window, and so on. And without those instructions, the software is useless and do not know what exactly to do. With that out of the way, now let's go inside of this processor. The entire issue starts from a structural layout called emulated EEPROM, the triple E that you already know. And how this chip partition its data flash called D-Flash. BMW FRM modules, as mentioned earlier, need to save things like your mileage, VIN, window limits, and so on. Usually for this, other modules have a separate physical chip that it's called EEPROM. But to save money and space, NPX, the manufacturer of this processor, NPX, not BMW, designed this processor to fake it. So that means there is no physical chip, EEPROM chip outside of the main processor. Instead, it uses a software trick called emulated EEPROM, the triple E. So how it works? It creates a temporary 4 kilobytes workspace inside the RAM and then use a complex mathematical formula to scatter, rotate that data across the physical 32 kilobytes of D-Flash bank to prevent the silicon from burning out. Inside of the FRM, inside of the module in the processor, the P-Flash and D-Flash have completely different allocated spaces and sizes. In this specific chip, the physical allocation of spaces look like this. P-Flash, that is the programming flash, has a fixed allocated section of 384 kilobytes. This space is reserved entirely for the core operating software firmware of the module, and that's all. The D-Flash, the data flash, has a physical hardware limitation of 32 kilobytes. It's way smaller, 128 sectors. This space, it's structurally dynamic and it's used only for storage variables. Vehicle configuration, that is the VO, VIN, data, error counters. The unique allocation of this space, it is the root cause for the infamous FRM3 problem. But why it is built as a separate physical place? Well, for harder installation, read while writing, because the 32 kilobytes of D flash, it's a physically separated partition, and the processor can execute code from the 384 kilobytes P flash at exactly same time when the vehicle configuration will change in the D flash, open window, close window. If they will share the same physical silicon block in the same space, the processor will have to stop completely to freeze the software execution every single time when you open or close your window, because that will trigger a data write. So if you open the window, the software will freeze. And that is not good, right? Also, that partition for the D flash has a different physical property. The physical transistors and floating gate cells in the 32 kilobytes block are engineered differently than the other 384 kilobytes block for the main software. The P flash block main software, it's built for extreme data retention and speed, but low rewriting limits, usually around 1 to 10,000 erase cycles before the chip will start to fail. And when I say that, you need to realize something, that the 1000 erase cycles in a software operation sometimes can happen in a split second. So the difference is that the D flash block, where our EEE partition structure lives, it is engineered to handle a higher electrical stress of thousands of constant background read, write, wear level cycles. So until now we have learned that the FRM3 processor internally has two physical separate spaces. One space is the P flash, 384 kilobytes of storage. This is the physical vault where the operating system lives. It's robust, heavily guarded by the CPU, and usually, not always, usually remains untouched during a crash. And the second one is the D flash, the 32 kilobytes, a completely separate physical area on the silicon chip. It is designed for rough and repetitive data rewriting. Now the allocation conflict, because raw flash degrades quickly under constant writing, the processor needs to use the EEPROM emulation, EEE. Like I was mentioned earlier, to avoid software damage with repetitive writes, the processor will allocate its 32 kilobytes of D flash, the separate memory, entirely to emulate only a 4 kilobyte of virtual EEPROM. So we have a physical of 32 kilobytes of available space, but we use only 4. The 4 kilobytes, it's a virtual partition created inside of the 32 kilobytes, that it's a bigger partition, D flash. So it's not a physical place in the software, it's a virtual partition. Now, with all those in mind, what is happening during corruption? When a vehicle experiences a voltage drop, like a dying battery or a jump start, at that time the FRM is trying to write some data, and because of the voltage fluctuation, the processor internal partition table get corrupted. One single bit, one of the ones and zero, is not written back inside in the correct place in the data string, and because of that the chip will forget how to map the 4 kilobytes EEPROM, and as a result the 4 kilobytes EEPROM space suddenly drops to 0, and the raw data splits back into the 32 kilobytes of D flash space. The information is still here, but now it's in a bigger place than expected. As example, it's no longer on a single piece of paper. All the information was there. Now suddenly it's in a large, big folder between another 100 blank, unexpected pages. So it's hidden inside there. Is there? And the result is that the software is not able to search in that entire folder for that single page to get the instruction. And because of that, the FRM3 module stopped responding. It can no longer find its configuration file. However, the P flash, the firmware, the main software remain perfectly intact, and the EEE information is still there, but sometimes that information can be also corrupted when will fail. After a repair, let's say. For example, you have a E70 or a E90 with adaptive headlights, the ones that are moving. When the lights is switched on the auto function after you repair a damaged module, you will see that, and you will hear that one of the headlights, the motors inside the drivers, will make a buzzing noise and will start to shake. That is caused by a corrupted EEE file. Most of the times, not always, but most of the times, that can be repaired using NCS Expert by doing a blank coding from the CAS vehicle order on the FRM. So until now, we have learned about the software, processor architecture, space allocation, and what happened when it fails. And what it's failing exactly, right? Now, how the repair actually works. When we fix an FRM module with an aftermarket programmer, we are not replacing hardware because there is no component replaced on the board, or even repairing the software, adding something, coding something extra on the board, because the data is still there, isn't physically erased, only is displaced. So to manually fix the partition boundaries, we are bypassing the processor broken software layers. When you connect a programmer directly to the circuit board, this is valid only for Xprog programmers. The programmer will prompt you with an error, right? The first error is partition information error. Please select the partition size manually. To extract the lost data, you must intentionally tell the programmer that the EEE is 0 sectors because it's damaged, and the D flash is 128 sectors, that means 32 kilobytes. This makes the tool to be able to read the raw 32 kilobytes canvas where your data is floating aimlessly, it's inside there. You read this out and save it as a .bin or .hex file. That file, it's called dflash. So when you use Xprog, first step was to read the dflash. Now we need to convert that file that we have, the dflash, to EEE file. Because even if you saved the file, it is in raw state, it is 32 kilobytes format, and we will need it to be only 4 kilobytes. So because of that, we cannot write it back on the processor. And also, we do not have yet a 4 kilobytes partition on the processor to be able to write that information back. Next step is to convert the 32 kilobytes raw data in 4 kilobytes EEE file. We need to feed this raw 32 kilobytes file into an online dflash to EEE converter or in a local script. That software will analyze the 32 kilobytes dump file, fishes out your VIN, mileage, light configuration, strips away the corrupted blank extra padding, the extra pages, and condense it into a perfect clean 4 kilobytes EEPROM file, that bin file. Then, with that done, your next step is to recreate back the new partition inside of the processor. So on Xprog, you will go back to your selection and you need to change your device target from dflash to EEE. After that, you will execute the erase partition command and select erase. The programmer will wipe out the entire partition and will prompt you to establish a new partition size that you will manually tell the chip to create 16 sectors of EEE. That means exactly 4 kilobytes, and hit OK. Now we are ready to write back the restored file. So you will load your new converted 4 kilobytes file and write it directly into the newly carved EEE partition space. Then the programmer will write that and verify the file. Once verified and everything is OK, your repair is done. Now the processor chip will know exactly where to look for its boot data again. And when you will plug back your FRM tree in your vehicle and switch on the ignition, the car instantly will recognize this module, that it's the original module, and everything will be back. You have windows, lights, everything, and if everything is okay, you won't need to do any extra coding, programming, and so on. Just like nothing happened. Other more professional tools like Multiprog, VVDI Prog, Orange or Autel are also doing all those steps. The only difference is that they are doing automatically. The programmers will read the unpartitioned raw 32 kilobytes dflash data, will extract and convert to 4 kilobytes file, we'll erase the D-flash partition, we'll create a new partition of 60 sectors, 4 kilobytes, and then we'll write back the recovered 4 kilobytes EEPROM data. Now I want to mention another thing. If you want to read a healthy FRM module and you'll treat it like a damaged one, you won't be able to do it, because the 32 kilobytes of space is set only to 4. Also another thing, if you already have the EE 4 kilobytes file already saved from your damaged module and you want to write it back on a different FRM module, if you have the exact same hardware level and software level on both modules, you then can write back the EEE file, and most of the times will work. Another thing, when you convert the 32 kilobytes D-flash in 4 kilobytes EE file in the local script, before saving the information or after saving the information, it will show you the complete VIN, production date, programming date, factory part number, and so on. And if you see most of the dates incorrectly or with the classic Y, that means the information is corrupted, and when we will mount it on the car, something won't work. That can be restored with NCS coding, but not always. Also, if the part numbers are missing or are damaged, you won't be able to reprogram that module using BMW eSTAP-P, or sometimes you won't be able to do it even with WinKFP. So officially, for this problem, BMW repair guides require to replace the module. Even if every single one of you from here will say, yeah, no, that is wrong, unfortunately, that will be the correct factory repair process for warranties and non-comebacks. Yes, it can be repaired, but that is the best case scenario. Also, BMW has a software update that will make this failure not to happen again by changing the writing sequence on EEE file when booting and at low voltage. But even so, FRM with latest software version will still fail, but indeed not so often. Yeah. So with this, we have covered everything about BMW notorious FRM3 modules, why and how it fails and how it is repaired. This was a free educational class offered for free by me for you online. You don't need to remember all the small details and numbers. Important for you is to have an idea about what and how and why. With this knowledge, you will be better prepared to work and understand BMW vehicles, and from now on you will realize that more things will start to make sense because you have the idea how they are working. And with this, I want to thank you for attending this course. Thank you for watching this video, and as always, I hope you learned something new. Until next time, you know the drill. Stay awesome. Bye now.